In this video, I will show you that it is possible to teleport in the vanilla version of Minecraft. Here's the idea. You press a button that sends a distant signal, which activates an ender pearl trapped in a stasis chamber. The problem is that the signal is limited by the chunks loaded around the player, making it impossible to go very far because the world beyond this limit isn't active. The solution would be to ask other players to position themselves along the path so the signal can pass. But that's inconvenient. I could ask another player to activate the pearl, do it myself with another account, or even put all my stuff in an ender chest and fall into lava to respawn in my bed. These solutions are effective, but they are not cool. So I will use chunkloaders. This involves sending an item through a portal, which loads the chunk on the other side. The item is then pulled into a hopper and sent back through the portal, similar to two players playing ping pong through it. When all the portals are loaded, the signal can pass and activate the pearl. The problem is that leaving these portals loaded forever impacts performance, which can be considered a lag machine, so a timer needs to be added to activate them temporarily from a distance. This timer will be managed by a minecart sent through the first portal. In the nether, it will unload before returning. This unloading will activate the first chunk loader, which will activate the next, and so on until it reaches the stasis chamber. However, it won't always work because when the signal is sent only once, a chunk may take time to load, which may prevent the signal from reaching its destination. That's why I added a clock that activates the system at regular intervals to test which timing is the most effective. What works in single player may not function correctly on a server. Therefore, the test will be conducted on Constantium.net, an anarchy server with no reset, to assess the system's impact when there are 40 players online. So here we are online. The server's TPS is 13.5, which corresponds to moderate lag. I have built 2 rooms spaced 1,000 blocks apart. Currently, a pearl is at this distance in a state that prevents it from touching the ground and thus from teleporting me. First, I need to load the minecart. I place 32 items so that the chunk loaders stay activated long enough for the signal to pass and push the pearl out of its stasis chamber. I check that the 32 items have been transferred before activating the teleporter because with lag, it can take longer than usual. Now that the teleporter is active, we need to wait for the signal to reach its destination, which takes 15 seconds in the absence of lag. While waiting, I can move around and even distance myself because the chunk where the clock is located will remain loaded until the teleportation occurs. Of course, it's important to avoid going into the nether because the pearl doesn't work across dimensions. We should soon hear the minecart returning, indicating that the teleportation is imminent. It worked. I teleported 1,000 blocks away. Of course, I can't show the coordinates since I'm currently on an anarchy server, but the important point is that the teleportation didn't cause any lag. You can hear that the teleporter is still active, but it will deactivate soon. Now I'm going to make the return trip. This time I'll place a block on the wall to better show that these are indeed 2 different locations. Since the chunk loader portals have 2 faces, it's possible to reuse them in the opposite direction by building an identical launching system on the other side. Again, I make sure that the minecart is properly loaded. If I activate the system too soon, the minecart may risk getting stuck in the nether. It's possible to prevent its launch if it's not properly filled with redstone comparators, but this adds complexity to the machine, which is already complex enough. Now, all that's left to do is wait. It seems the server is lagging, but it's not because of the teleporter. There are just 50 other players online right now who could be doing anything. That's why it's essential to limit the use of chunk loaders to only what's strictly necessary. The minecart shouldn't take long to return. Here we go. Okay, I'm back. The blue shulker hasn't disappeared. It's me who teleported elsewhere. Now let's see the process in action. I drop the items. The minecart is loading. The redstone system on the side is only used to connect it to the button in the room above, but it could be placed directly here. No matter the distance, it's important that the minecart goes through the portal at full speed. Let's follow it. As you can see, the signal is activated and will remain so until the minecart is completely unloaded. I made the item names visible so we can see them pass through the portals. Here is the last chunk loader, which is connected to the stasis chamber. The glass around it prevents dropped items from falling to the side. The stasis chamber is no longer visible, but here is a copy. The main element is the bubble column, which must be deep enough so that the pearl doesn't touch the bottom when thrown into it. Activation occurs from above. You just need to make sure to place the observers in the right direction. The bubble column stops just below the pistons. That's where the pearl will stabilize. The trapdoor is used to exit the teleporter after teleportation. Let's test it. Drop the pearl vertically so that it doesn't touch the edges. It should rise and stop at the top of the bubbles. What you see here is just a button that activates a dropper. The item is retrieved in the hopper and sent back via another dropper. The signal goes back up and is detected by the observer, which activates the pistons, pushing the pearl out. Here you have all the necessary systems for the teleporter. Those surrounded by netherrack are the ones in the nether. Make sure each system works properly before connecting them together. Otherwise, identifying errors might take some time. Here, the minecart remains stuck because it's too light, but we need to think in 4 dimensions. This space won't exist once the portal is activated. This optional clock shows if a signal is active from a distance. This one activates a signal regularly based on the number of objects placed in the funnels. There is a slight difference between the chunk loader in the nether and the one in the overworld. The one in the nether requires a signal to pull an item, whereas the one in the overworld automatically sends the item back into the portal. The difference is at the target block. Notice that the system's position is inverted so that the launched item falls into the opposite system's funnel. This configuration will be replicated for each portal. The redstone system on the ground is only used to transfer items from the lower dropper to the upper one. You don't need to put so many items in it, but it's possible that one or the other may be lost if it falls beside the funnel, or if a mob picks it up while standing too close to the portal. Now you need to connect each element in a compact manner, because if one of the elements is too distant, the signal won't be able to pass. That's why the first chunk loader is very close to the large portal to keep the clocks activated even if you move away from the portal during the transfer. Let's activate the signal to see what happens. The clock starts immediately. I connected the chunk loaders with observers to clearly mark their boundaries, but a simple redstone wire is sufficient. While anything can be used in the dropper, I recommend using different items for each portal to prevent the game from merging identical items. If the portal is at ground level, it's advisable not to use items droppable by mobs for the same reason. Let's go see what happens in the overworld while the chunk loaders are activated. Here you can see the space between two chunk loaders. Remember that you can move a portal vertically by destroying it and rebuilding it lower, as long as you maintain its X and Y coordinates. Make sure it's oriented the same way as well. Also, if you have built two portals too close to each other in the Nether, the same portal might be used in the overworld. In that case, you'll need to construct a new portal at the corresponding coordinates. This part is inactive for now because it will be used to transmit the signal in the other direction. To determine where to place the portals in the Nether, use the shortcut F3G to make the chunks visible. Make sure there is at least one portal in each chunk. For the return trip, simply construct the same system in the opposite direction symmetrically. You just need to remember to put a pearl in the state chamber before teleporting. So there you have it. Teleportation is possible in Minecraft without cheating. Goodbye.